So welcome everybody to our super duper training session that we'll be running through today. We do just have an hour to get through a bit of content. So a lot of this I'll try and do a bit of a show and tell as we go through, and you can always refer back to the videos that we'll be capturing as a bit of a reference. But essentially what we're looking to do as part of this is go through an end-to-end walkthrough of the system, of the PageUp system, based on what we've configured for our master instance template. So what I'm going to do is go through the process of raising a job, applying an applicant, moving the applicant through some of our statuses, and obviously making an offer to that applicant to finalize off the offer. So I'm going to go through step by step, and I'll be controlling a couple of different people as we go. Obviously, there are a few different users involved in the recruitment process, so we want to make sure that we've got them both sorted. But we'll begin our journey, let's call it a journey. We'll begin our journey here at the hiring manager dashboard. So I'm currently logged in as Harry Hire. Now Harry Hire has a bit of a permission where he can raise jobs and do some reviewing of applicants, but by no means does he have super user control. We'll refer to this super user term a bit, but essentially they're the ones that will be the administrators of the system. So the hiring manager really is just there to interact with jobs and raise jobs for our recruiters. So I'm going to come straight here to the new job link, and this will take me to our template page. So here I can use a template that we've predefined, whereby I can pre-fill some of my job information based on this template. So we only have one at the moment for head recruiter. So I'll just click next. We can see we've got a preview here of some of the text that will be pulled in. But this will take me through to my job card with that detail pre-filled. Now, as part of our master template instance, we only created this one, but obviously as the system is used more and more, you can create as many templates as you want or as you need, and that will really help you with those roles that you source for often. But I'll continue down with this job. By the way, as we go through, if you do have any questions, feel free to shout out, but because we are pretty tight for time, if it is a detailed question, we can either take it offline or I can follow you up separately. But I'll keep jumping down this job card. So this job card is really what we use to capture a requisition or a need for a requisition. So we call it the job card here at PageUp, but essentially it's just here to capture a bunch of different detail about our job. So this might be needed for approvals or maybe for advertisement, but essentially this is all the hiring manager needs to fill out to submit this job requisition to a recruiter. So I'll go through and fill out some of these fields. Again, with our master template instance, a lot of these are quite generic. So obviously when we get into more specific projects that you'll be using this instance, these fields will be a bit more specific to a client. We have a few fields here again that are lookups. So let me use that team as a cost center, but it shows you the different types of fields you can have on this job card, obviously between drop-down fields and free text and lookups, and all of these values can be edited by your super users. Those are those administrators as part of the system. So you can always come into system settings and update these. I'll continue on in filling these out. Our recruitment process is the steps we'll be taking through an application. So we'll have an applicant and we'll move them through certain steps before they are essentially hired. And that's what we call our recruitment process. So I'll just select our standard recruitment process for now, but you'll see where this comes in once we have an applicant ready. We also have the ability to capture a panel. So if we have some users that we want to have feedback on applicants, we can capture a chairperson and also the members of that panel here. But I'll jump down a bit into advertising detail. You can see here a lot of that text from my template has pulled through here. So essentially all of that info for the job is ready to go. And the last section I have here is my approvals and my users. So I am logged in as Harry Hire, so my hiring manager field has filled out automatically, but I may have an approval process that I need to select. Some clients may use this and others may not, but in this case, we've just got a one-step approval whereby Roger Recruiter is automatically put in as the manager here for approval. I'll put Roger as our recruiter as well, since he is so aptly named, and I'll just click onto the next page. So we filled out all of that position info. The next tab is around notes. So if I had any specific notes, I can always add a note to this job card. And this will flow through with the job as the job goes through the application process. Likewise, if I had any documents that were relevant to the sourcing of this job, I can add that here. So let me just upload a document from a file. This might be a position description. And I'll go into PD for role. Recruiter. There we go. And I'll just click Save and Close. So that document will now be uploaded against this job, and anybody who goes to look at this job will now be able to have access to that document. So I'll just click Save and Exit for now. And my job has now been saved. So as part of the approval, I think we sent this through the Roger Recruiter. So Roger will get an email for that approval, asking him to log in and view the job that Harry has now raised. So Roger can either log into the system and respond that way, or let me bring up my email here. Roger can also reply directly to that email. So I'll scroll down a little, but some functionality we have in PageUp is that you can respond directly to an approval via the email. So I can respond with the word approve, and that will go directly into the job. Meaning I don't have to log into the system and view it all, but if I did want to, we can certainly do that too by logging into PageUp and viewing the job that way. So I'll close that for now, and we'll jump out of Harry's view, and I'll introduce you to our recruiter view. And what we can do is look at our approved jobs only. Okay. So I'm assuming it is the latest number here. I should have named it something more specific, but we've got our head recruiter job that we just raised, and you can see now that it is in the approved status. So if I click through to this and scroll back down, we can see all of that content that the hiring manager has submitted. If I go right down to the bottom, we should see the approval process here, and Roger Recruiter has been marked to approve. So by sending that email, which we did on screen, that's now come into the system and updated this job into approved status. So what I can do now as the recruiter is source my job. So this is a tab that the hiring manager didn't have access to. So it is a permission-based item, but obviously we want our recruiters to have that access. So here what we're going to do is add a sourcing channel for this job. So this might be a common type activity you perform in sourcing jobs to your relevant channels. Here we only have the website and intranet sourcing channels set up, but there have been talks around Broadbean and also through Broadbean using things like Seek and Facebook. So that would appear here as an option too, but for now I'm just going to source to our website channel. So I'll begin that by ticking ticking the website channel on first. So that will activate the channel. And then I get to fill out some of these details, specifically around opening date, which we'll do yesterday, and also a closing date. Let me put in next week. Again, all of that detail that we selected on our template has flown through here. So I don't need to refill out anything unless I do want to make some changes to this text. One thing that I can do is insert a video or insert images or documents into this text. So that might be a good way to liven up your job advertisements. For now, I'll just keep it at the text level, but I will attach some search categories on the right-hand side here. And these are specifically designed for an applicant in searching for this job. They'll be able to use these search categories to then search for the relevant jobs. So I'd be looking for human resources. You see it's a nice long list there, but we'll just use human resources for now. The final step here is attaching an application form. So we've got a couple in here at the moment, but I'll just select our Randstad detailed application form. If I'm not sure what that looks like, I can preview. And that will give me a bit of a high-level overview of the pages that are included in that form. But I'm happy with that form, so what I can do is click Save, and if I have missed anything, I'll get some red text underneath. But it looks like I've done it okay so far. So what I can do is now either look at our job board. Let me just refresh this page. So this is currently our career site. Not very pretty at the moment, as it has no branding on it. But this is where that job would appear. It will take 5 or so minutes for that job, so we may not wait for the whole time. But this is the kind of structure that it will be utilized. So you can see the categories over here that I would have aligned to my job. An applicant can now come in and use these categories to search for certain jobs. If we weren't wanting to wait for the job to appear on that job board, what we can do is use our little actions drop down here to get a direct link to the apply page. So this link or even a QR code can be helpful to share in print media. If you had something internally like a newsletter you wanted to send around, these links would be a good way to do that. So what I'll do is just copy that link for now, and I'll copy that into a new page. And you can see here I'm brought through to the application portal. So we've got our little branding up the top left here, but it's asking for my email before I continue. So I'm just going to create a new applicant email and attach it to my address. And I'll need to read this privacy statement before I continue. And obviously I'll mark as read, and then I can click next. The first option that I'm presented with is the ability to pre-fill my application. So this is a good way for applicants to fill a lot of those application form pages with the content they may have already in their resume, or potentially LinkedIn or Seek or Facebook. So I'm just going to select a sample resume. Got a few fun ones here that we can use. And what the system will do is pass that resume and hopefully pull in that information into the application form. So you can see here, Donald Duck has now pre-filled here. And there are a few fields that have been missed from the pre-filling, may not have been included. So I'll just go through and fill out a few of these by myself. There's a lot of profile information that is captured on this page before we get into the specifics around the application. So once I've, that's not the same link, that's not going to help. Once I've filled out those fields and not missed anything, hopefully, state and territory will help. Save and continue. So this will let me proceed into the application form itself. So there are a number of different question types through this application form, and these include things like drop-downs, conditional questions. You can see here if I select the second option, I've got some conditional questions here. We have free text boxes and even date fields here. So this is really for the applicant to fill out all of the detail relevant to that job before they submit that, and it comes through to a recruiter or the hiring manager to review. So I won't go through this in too much detail, but I can save and exit and continue on our merry way. Back to home. So the applicant can always come back in and complete the application if they haven't fully completed it. But for now, we'll leave it at the incomplete status, and we'll look at another action that you may take as a recruiter. So I'm just going to jump into our right-hand menu, where we have a lot of access as a recruiter to different elements of the PageUp system. I'll jump into manage, let's go manage applications for now. We can see here on another job, I have 2 applicants that have applied to my manager of business strategy. What we can do is apply an applicant directly from their applicant card. So let me select a buyer's name. By clicking a buyer's name, we've brought up the applicant card. Here we've got a history of all of the applications that a buyer has made, as well as any specific actions that were performed as part of that application. So there may have been communications or different emails that a buyer has received, and we have that all captured here. But what I want to do here is select a new application. What this will do is allow me to create a new application for a buyer, and I can search all of my available jobs to create this application. So let me just click the magnifying glass. We'll see how easy it is for me to find. I'll search by my most recent job number because it should be there. There we go. So the latest job number is obviously the one I just created, the head recruiter. So I'll just click OK, and we can see that pulls through. And here I'm just asked for a couple of different elements for reporting purposes, say from the intranet, as well as if I want to disclose this application to a candidate. Now this disclose feature is quite important. It can be helpful if you're wanting to apply an applicant to a job that you don't want them necessarily to see on their dashboard. So if, for instance, you had 2 jobs that were the same position, but one applicant applied to one, but really should be attached to the other, a good way to do that would be by not disclosing it. You could still mark them as successful, essentially, through that first job, but maybe for the end forms, you actually apply them to that last, the newer job, and that way you can kind of manage the visibility of those applications for the applicant. But for now, I do want to disclose this because it is a new application for a buyer. So I want him to see it on his dashboard so that we can interact along the recruitment process. I can either complete the application on the applicant's behalf or just apply them directly and attach any of their completed forms in the same way. So let me select one of the completed forms and I'll say I want to put this into the new status. So once the internet does its thing and applies our applicant, we should have a new application appearing on a buyer's applicant card. Looks like I've brought down the whole internet by clicking. Oh, here we go. Good. So we're presented with the email that will go out at this point. There are a lot of placeholders you'll see in this system as we go through, but again, these will be configured specifically to the client names that we'll be looking to use. So they're basically merged fields at the moment that will essentially replace or placeholders, more likely. I'll send this email out though to a buyer so he now knows that he's made a recent application, and we'll see that application here. There we go, head recruiter at the new status. So if I close the applicant card now, I'll jump back to my home dashboard as the recruiter, so still logged in as Roger Recruiter. And eventually on my dashboard, we should be able to see that we have a new applicant for our head recruiter job. Before I jump any further into it, are there any questions at this point? We've gone through raising a job and applying so far, but are there any questions from anyone so far?
None from us.
None from me.
Excellent. Okay. I'll continue on. It looks like my internet is slowing down in Melbourne so far. I'd like to blame it on the rain, but I think we should have sorted this out by now. Let me just jump back a step. Getting some good lag at the moment. There we go. That's okay. At least something loaded. That'll give me something to go from. I'm just going to jump back in now that the internet is catching up with itself. I'm just going to jump back into the users section. So generally only our administrators will have access to this users section, but in this case I'm using this access so I can control other users, which is very helpful, I guess, as a recruiter to understand this function. And that means that if you are having issues as a recruiter, you can always contact a super user, and that super user can help you troubleshoot whatever access that you have. Okay, I've got a question here, it looks like, from Tracy. Sam, so if we put someone down as new, so moving an application into a new status, I believe, it thinks they have a completed application. So normally Tracy invites them as incomplete. So that's correct, Tracy. So in that case, I moved, I think it was a buyer. I moved a buyer into the new status because I gave him a completed application already. I didn't fill out, otherwise I could have given him a new form to fill out, but I just attached one of these old forms so he didn't have to fill anything out. But great question.
Just wanted to confirm.
That's it. It's a good question. Cool. So we're back to where we should have been with Roger. So Roger, on his head recruiter role, you can see here I now have one new application. So if I click that one new, two total, because we have one that will be incomplete. It will be the initial applicant I put through, which was Donald Duck. So he'll still be incomplete. Let me turn that on for you so you can see that. There we go. So you can see there's one incomplete status here and one in a new status. So what we can do now is do a bit of screening. So screening works quite easily in the PageUp system. It means you can go through a list of applicants rather quickly and hopefully look at their forms, look at their profiles, and make a really quick assessment having all that information. So we can click the little form link here or the little resume link here, for the head recruiter application. And this will bring up a screen for the respective item that we clicked. So here I clicked form. We can see all of those questions that a buyer didn't answer because he may have been a bit lazy when filling out this form. And we can also see the resume by clicking the resume link. So let me click that one. It's actually just a chat log from, I think, our last GoToMeeting. But after looking at those elements, what I can do is use these little 3 colored tick boxes up the top. And these are used for a lot of our bulk moves or bulk actions, but they can be used really however you want to assign the colors. But there's a green, a yellow, and a red box, and these are used to categorize the applicants that you're reviewing. So let me click green for now, and I can use these navigations down the bottom to move on to our next applicant, whereby I can do the same thing. I can look at the form and hopefully allocate accordingly. So let me put Donald in the yellow bucket, and I'll click done. You'll now see that those ticks have updated on our overall application screen. So I can perform a bulk action with those. So I may have 100 applicants here. In this case, we've only got 2, but the same premise applies. So let me click this bulk action drop down here, and I'll click bulk move. And this will bring up a movement window. You can see I now have 2 buckets that I get to assign to a different status. So I want to move my green bucket, let's say, into a hiring manager review. And my yellow bucket, I'll move into something else. So let me now. So our yellow bucket will move into, let's go off screen successful for now. As we're on this screen, it's a good chance to point out our recruitment process. So as I mentioned before, the recruitment process are the steps that an applicant goes through in being reviewed for a position. And here, obviously, we've started with an incomplete profile. It's submitted and moves into a new status. But after that, this is really where all of those recruitment activities take place. In our template instance that we're in now, we have a lot of different statuses that may not necessarily be used together. Things like phone interview, video interview, assessment center, and panel interview. You may not have all of these things in one recruitment process, but we wanted to create basically a super process that had all of the possible steps that we may have. So just to give you a bit of context, they're the steps we'll be going through, but we don't necessarily have to do every single step in that process. And it is something that can be cleaned up quite easily. So I'll click move, and this one should move our second applicant into the right status. Cool. So we can see here we now have one in a hiring manager review status and one in a screen successful status. What I'm going to do now is jump back into the hiring manager view because this is a way that we can interact with our hiring managers by putting applicants into a hiring manager review status. So I'm going to jump back into Harry Hire's profile. Okay, so here we have Harry Hire's dashboard again. We can see he has 7 jobs open. One of those we just raised. There's approval waiting, but what we're looking for here is the applications bubble. So here we have 3 jobs that have applicants for our review as a hiring manager. One of these should hopefully be our latest head recruiter job. So we can see this with our job number was 228. It's in the approved status, and it has Roger Recruiter as the owner. if I jump into this shortlisted applicants section, we should see a buyer here. And here we have the opportunity to review this applicant, similar to how a recruiter screened. We can do that through a bit more of a streamlined interface. So by clicking a buyer's name, this will bring up a lovely little screen with our form, similar to how we saw before. So I now, as the hiring manager, can view the form and the resume, or our chat log, as I call it, before I make an informed decision. You can see now that that tick was previously a cross, has now been updated because I have reviewed a buyer's profile. So I can now select an outcome. So let me click, say, hiring manager review successful. I can now submit that as a hiring manager, saying that I've reviewed a buyer's profile. So that's one of the key interactions, I guess, that a hiring manager may have with the PageUp system. So it is good to understand how that works so we are able to support them in this step. I'm going to jump back into my account as Roger Recruiter now, so we can pick that back up after Harry Hire has approved the role. Cool. So we have two applicants in our head recruiter role. So I'm jumping back in here, and we can see a buyer has been updated to a hiring manager review successful status. Excellent. So the last major step in this recruitment process that I wanted to run through was our event functionality. So this one can be a little tricky at first, but it will be really great for you to get an understanding of how we put this together. But essentially, PageUp has a built-in events module whereby you can create time slots for an event and send those time slots through to an applicant to pick from. So it's really good for things like interviews or booking assessment centers, where you may have to facilitate the booking of many applicants to an event. So what we're going to do now is create an assessment center event whereby we can invite a buyer to that assessment center and hopefully get an appropriate time selected. So I'm coming down to the right-hand menu again, where we have our events section. I'm going to click a new event so we can create what we'll call our recruiter assessment centers. I can call it whatever I'd like, but this is the title that will appear for an applicant. Here the event type we'll put down as assessment center. That event type is important as it aligns with the steps in our recruitment process. So it's good that we pick the right one that we're wanting to create here. We can attach it to our specific job, but if it is an assessment center we want to share across a number of jobs, we can leave that blank. So let's scroll past there. I'll leave the owner as myself, being Roger Recruiter, and I'll click Save. So Save will give me the ability to hopefully add some time slots in here. Excellent. So we can either do this in bulk or as a single time slot. But essentially we just want to put in some times. Let's go 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. How many positions we have available in this time slot. So for an assessment center, we may have 10. So let me put in 10 positions. So that means 10 applicants could select this time slot before the time slot will disappear from the ability to select as an applicant. So only 10 people can attach themselves there, and anyone else would need to pick some of the other time slots that we're about to add. So I'll do some bulk time slots here. This one's quite fun. We can select a time period. Let's go from the 8th of May to the 13th of June. And we want some time slots on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 2, let's go 1. Yeah. And again, we'll have 10 positions in each of those. So that'll add quite a few time slots for this event. But the idea behind it is very similar. You don't need to create that many, but for a good example, here we go. So I can now save that, and my event is created in the PageUp system. Oh, save and exit. So now I'm going to jump back to my job, specifically to invite a buyer to our event. And I can do this through my recent items, where I can either jump back into a buyer's job applicant card or directly into the job for head recruiter. So let's jump into the head recruiter job. We can now navigate to our applications through the View Applications link, and this will give us a list, similar to what we've seen before. So you may notice as I'm going through today, I'm trying to use different paths to get to the same place. And there really is no one right path to get to somewhere. Really, it comes down to personal preference. We have clients that use different methods, and those different methods can work for you too. So really, you'll find your own process of the way to navigate the system, but do know there are many ways to get to the same place. So what we want to do here is invite a buyer to our assessment center. I can do that directly from this page rather than jumping onto a buyer's applicant card. So let's do it from this page just by clicking the hiring manager review status. Again, we get a list of our recruitment process statuses. And let me find our assessment center invite. There we go. Okay, so this will give me an ability to select the event I want to invite a buyer to. And we should be able to see our recruitment assessment center there, along with any other events that we may have created that were assessment centers. I can click OK there. I can also select a time slot directly for the applicant, or I can give them the ability to choose. So generally, if you've made that many time slots, you may give the applicant an ability to choose. But if in the case that you spoke on the phone to an applicant and they wanted you to apply them directly to a time slot, you do have the ability to do that through this interface. For now, though, let's go through giving the applicant the ability to choose. This is the email that will get sent along with our placeholders and some merge fields in here, as you can see. But it basically tells the applicant to log in to the applicant portal and accept a time slot. Excellent. So we can see our status has updated here, assessment center invite. So that means the invite has gone out to a buyer, and a buyer, if we control him, we should be able to see that notification. Let me jump up to the top here. So I'm going to control a buyer. Another action that a recruiter may do a bit is controlling an applicant. If that applicant is having issues with filling their profile or submitting an application. So this is a handy one to know. Cool. So you can see here, I have a few notifications because a buyer has been busy applying for a lot of roles here, but let's look at the top one here where it says you have been requested to attend an assessment center for your head recruiter application. So if I click make a booking, I'm presented with that list of time slots that we just put in before, and I can now select one of those and click confirm booking. This will give me a confirmation page, and I can now use that to add to my calendar as a calendar invite. I can also decline the booking if I just realized I made a boo-boo, or reschedule this booking if I would like to change to one of the other time slots. But for now, I'll just go back to my home screen. Nothing else needs to be done. You can see currently with our head recruiter application, we're still under review. And the other the other manager of business strategy, we already accepted an offer. So there's 2 jobs there that we did apply for. Looks like a buyer might get 2 offers today, which is very exciting. I'll jump out of this application form screen now that we've selected our time slot, and we should be able to see the final part here, whereby the status for the head recruiter role has updated to assessment center accepted. That's due to a buyer selecting the time slot that he did. Excellent. So we are doing very well. We only have the offer component to go. So are there any questions so far on either the screening by hiring managers or the event creation and events invite that we send out to applicants?
Not from me.
Not from us either.
Cool. Excellent. So the final step here that you'll be performing as a recruiter would be the step of making an offer to the applicant and submitting that offer through to them. So this is another special status we have here, and it is pertaining, whoop, clicking too much. If we come down in our list, right down the bottom, we have a few around our offer. So it begins at our verbal offer step, which we'll begin in, and then I'll walk you through the next steps that we have after that. So verbal offer is really the first step. I'll click next. We've got a bit of a time tracker showing you all of the steps that this applicant has moved through. But after clicking move now, we're presented with our offer card. Now this would look very similar for most of you to our job card. You can see here there's a bit of detail around our applicant, also some detail around the job that the applicant has applied for, before we get into the specifics around the offer we are making. This is really where we're putting in that detail for either approval or for contract merging. We can also use this for reporting. So a lot of this we can fill out as we go. Put Harry Hire as our manager again, since he's been so trusty so far. But there are a lot of fields here, again, similar to the job card, different type fields. There's a drop-down list. There are free text fields. A lot of different information can be captured here. So let me just put in a couple more. Base rate can be 45,000. And some more additional items. Actually, there we go. Cool. So I'll skip through a few of the other elements here, but these are all really used to capture reporting, approval, or contract merge information. The last bit here is around our new starter form, and this is the form that you can use to send out to an applicant, whereby you can capture bank, personal details, next of kin details, tax information, super information. And I know there are a lot of your clients that might have their own paper process, but this is a good option here whereby you can integrate it into the system. And it's a really good applicant experience whereby you can collect all of this data and have it ready for the applicant starting on day one, so they'll know that they'll be paid. Because that is often the fear, I guess, of a new starter. Will I be paid in time, or will I not fill out my forms quick enough? So let me select our new starter form here. Before we get to our offer documents, so this section is really to merge any of the contract documents that we may have. We've only got one here as part of our master template instance. So let me click merge document. I'm asked if I would like to save. So I'll say OK. And this will present me with a list of documents that I can now merge. So I have created this example contract, which I'll click merge on. I'm given a bit of a list of any items that may not have filled from the merge fields. So in this case, it looks like our applicant hasn't filled out a street to or a postcode. So I'll ignore that for now. It will still merge appropriately. Okay. So I can now view that document to make sure that it has merged properly. And I can open that up in Word and make any additional edits that I'd like to. So you can see here, a buyer's name is merged, the salary that I put in has merged, and the super amount has merged. There are a few other fields that I probably didn't fill out that haven't merged, but also the recruiter of the job has merged. So a lot of that information is now being pulled for you, and that contract could be ready to send as is. The last step that I can do here is the approval process, similar to our job approval, but for now I won't send that out. Essentially, it works the same way in that an email will go to the approvers and they can log into the system, view the offer card detail, and click approve. And all of that will be tracked here. For now, I can save and close though, because I'm happy with all of the content that I've put onto that application offer. So you can see my status is updated to verbal offer. The offer status is now offer incomplete, which means it hasn't been accepted yet. Before this point, it said no offer, which meant there was no detail there in the offer. But this means that it's ready to go. And I can now move to the final status of online offer made. So this is the key communication status, whereby some of the all of the text, in this email will really show the employee what to do now to accept their offer, and it's really a welcoming email. So again, a lot of placeholders here, a few merge fields that will pull through, such as the recruiter's name and the email. So if I'm happy to send that, I can click Move Now, and that email will go out to a buyer applicant, asking him to log in. So to control a buyer again, we'll be able to see that offer on his dashboard. You've been made an employment offer for your head recruiter application. Excellent. So by clicking View Offer, I'll be presented the offer details as part of the contract. So our Word document, has now been merged into a PDF, and I can click that to download it, and hopefully, but one thing to point out here, I won't be able to accept unless I have opened this and clicked I have read and agreed to the terms of offer. So there are two little validation checks there now that I've opened my contract, which has appeared on another screen. My apologies. See if it can load quicker. There we go. Cool. So you can see in PDF format, it's a bit neater, but essentially that same detail that we looked at when creating the contract. So I'll jump back to the application form, clicking I have read and agreed to the terms of the offer, and clicking accept. And this will finalize the overall process that we've just been walking through while presenting me with the new starter form. So this is that form that I mentioned where we can collect personal details, bank details, super information, tax details, all of those things that we need before an employee can be fully started at the organization. So this is a good way to capture that and either provide it as an integration into a payroll, but also as a report whereby we can export this from PageUp and send it on to the client so they can input it directly into their system. There are a few fields here that have validation too. So this is quite fun. With BSB, for instance, if I put in too many numbers, that's obviously not going to help anybody entering tax bank details. Definitely everyone in payroll would be seeing that and cringing right now. But if I put in that dash and follow the format that's specified, it will allow me to continue. So this form is very good for capturing that kind of detail. And if I wasn't ready to complete all of this, I can still jump back by clicking the back button, and it will stay as a bit of a request for me to complete that form, so I can come complete it later once I have that information to go. So we'll jump out of the applicant portal now, and we'll click search again. We'll just update our dashboard. We can now see that a buyer has moved into the offer accepted status, which is really the final component there of the recruitment process. We finally found someone for our recruited job. If I click this information icon, this will take me through to a few short links where I can jump straight back into the job. But we'll see here the position that we added initially, which was a new position. A buyer has now been attached to it, and we've been notified that he's in an offer accepted status. So essentially we've filled that role, and the final step here would be to close this job off and make sure that we track it accordingly. Right down the bottom, we have a link here to close job. So let me click that. Select the status to move the job into. So this is either a filled or cancelled role. Obviously, we're moving into a filled role just for reporting purposes. And we can also send a job feedback survey to our hiring manager. So it's pre-filled here with Harry as the hiring manager. So if I click save and update that email, there we go. Once I click save, that email will go out to Harry. So I should have got this. Harry will have received this email. It's got a quick survey, which shouldn't take long to complete. So by clicking the link, Harry will be able to provide some feedback on the job. So we've got a few questions here, but please answer the following questions about the job. And Harry can give us a quick few ratings on things like time to fill, applicant quality, successful applicant, customer service, and overall, as well as any comments. You are a great recruiter. Submit survey. And close. Perfect. So I can jump back into my dashboard now, and I should hopefully see in, let's say, non-current. I always get really finicky over these columns. There we go. Anyway, the head recruiter job is right there at the bottom with a filled status. So we've essentially closed off that job as we found the applicant and made them an offer. So we have covered quite a bit over the last hour, and I just hit the hour mark. So I'm surprised we crammed it all in. I was starting to doubt myself, but we got there. Are there any questions over any of those last components? Probably mostly around the offer and the contract, and maybe sending out that offer and filling out a form as an applicant.
No, Sam,
I have a question.
Yep, sorry, you go.
Thank you. I have a question just in terms of the bank details. Have we got an option that we can then download that to, say, an Excel in case we need to then pass that on to a client?
Yeah, we certainly do. So we've got this reporting tool. I'll jump into the report section. I don't think we have any report created yet for it, but essentially we have a new starter report where all of that information can be pulled, and then we see if we've got some available. But that report can then be, I guess, converted into an Excel format and either scheduled to be sent to someone or downloaded manually to be then passed on. So we've got some examples here. So this isn't the new starter applications, but it is a similar type report where we can pull an Excel piece of data and then transfer that to a client. So if in the case you were looking at sending new starter information, it would be a similar process. We'd have one here that says new starter information, and we could either set that up as a schedule to send to the client weekly or even daily for any new applicants that have accepted a role, or we can manually take the Excel data and send it to them. Does that answer your question, Claire?
It does, yes. Thanks, Sam.
No worries. And was there another question too?
Oh, yes, Sam, it's Tracy. I was just going to ask you in regards to the feedback,
Yep.
you know how it goes to the recruiter via email. Does it save anywhere at all in PageUp?
It does, actually. So that's one of the cool parts of it. Any of your open jobs, let me create a new report, actually. But your job reporting tool, let me just go jobs. As part of this reporting, some of the fields you can pull here are about the hiring manager feedback. So let me see if I can survey. Feedback. Knew that would happen. As soon as I searched, I just wouldn't be able to find it. But essentially, you'll be able to pull a report with a list of information about your jobs, as well as the feedback from the hiring manager on those jobs. So you can certainly pull it, and it does sit attached one-to-one to the job. Oh, there we go, survey. So we've got applicant quality. There we go. This is a terrible report, and I'm sure there's some reporting lovers looking at this and cringing. But let me just save it, and we can have a look. Job feedback. There may be a few jobs in here without that data, but we should hopefully be able to see the one that we just filled out.
Yeah, I just think it's good because we normally would send say a survey out to a client. This way we could have captured that data and not have to do a survey. So
yeah, absolutely. It's a good way of integrating it as part of the process.
That's right.
So there you go. So the head recruiter, the applicant quality, customer service, and my comments. So you can easily report on that, and we could filter this by recruiter or division, however you'd like to roll up that feedback.
Great.
And Tracy said she's just dropped out, I think.
No, I'm back now. No, I'm back now. Yeah, I dropped out for a minute. Yeah.
Didn't even notice. Well done. Cool. Were there any other questions before we wrap it up then?
None from us.
From me.
Excellent. Well, as I said, that was a very high-level overview, and certainly use it as a reference if there are certain actions in there that you may want to revisit. And anything more specific, feel free to reach out either to the project team or myself, and we'd be happy to give you some pointers around the functionality and really how to use it to assist you in your recruiting.
Excellent. Thanks, Sam.